Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about the presidential election. We are taking your calls, tons of calls here. We have MTSU Dean and Professor of Political Science, John Bile, with us. And let's go to Taylor. Hello, Taylor. Taylor. All right, that's Martin. Oh, sorry. Okay, Martin. Hello, Martin.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
How are you? I was on earlier and I had to hang up for some reason, so I didn't really catch to see if maybe my question got on the air. So I'm just going to ask it again. The first question I want to ask the guests there is: isn't it still a crime in America to destroy subpoenaed evidence from the federal government? That's the first question. And the second question is regards to this so-called hacking. It seems that the Democrats are mad about them getting found out than about what's in the emails. For instance, the Bernie Sanders thing, how they clearly skewed the primaries towards Hillary Clinton.
Now, do you think the Republicans would voluntarily release? Would Republicans voluntarily release all their emails?
Excuse me?
Will Republicans voluntarily release all their emails? I mean, I'm sure people's emails have.
That you're going to have to ask them. I don't know. But my comment is that regardless who hacked the emails, once it got out there, now the Democrats are mad about it getting out there, as opposed to, oh well, you know, whoever hacked it, but it's out there now. Now they're upset about them getting hacked and not about what the contents is of whatever email they're talking about.
I think they are definitely upset they're being hacked, and especially if it's from Russia. But, okay, what do you think about what he's saying?
Well, and I guess you always start with the disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, so don't take it too far. But he has a point on destroying subpoenaed evidence. My understanding is there are a couple questions. First, you know, when was it destroyed? Was it destroyed before or after the subpoena, and by whom? And then was it destroyed with the purpose of destroying evidence, or were, as Hillary says, were they largely trying to destroy, quips, emails about the wedding and, personal things that none of us probably would want on email?
She's had a tough time answering that. I mean, I think there's a problem there.
And
there's
again,
no doubt about it.
The FBI clearly says, and she does now admit, as I understand it, that she made a mistake. It was, again, the FBI's judgment is that it was. What worries me about Trump's lock her up is a president is not both judge and jury. We have separation of powers for a reason. And to come in, I mean, surely he has not had the aid of the Attorney General or the FBI or anybody else in weighing evidence, and to come into office saying, I'm going to put somebody in jail, is really scary unless you're talking about a mafia don or, a mass murderer or a terrorist or, Osama bin Laden or someone like that.
It's certainly never been a political opponent. It's not your political opponent.
No.
All right, let's go to Jenny. Hello, Jenny. Jenny? All right, let's go. All right, Katie. Sorry, go right ahead, Katie.
Well, Tom Brokaw said it's a shame that with so many people in this country, there's no one better to run for president, and I certainly agree with him.
Yeah. So that's where you are now. What are you going to do? Do you know?
I don't know. I just do not know. It's hard for me to decide.
Right. So what could tip you one way or the other?
Yeah. Well, what? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
How are you going to make up your mind one way or the other?
I just have to keep watching and reading what they say. I don't know.
All right.
There's a classic cartoon of seeing someone in the voting booth, and you see the coin flip over the top. What I would tell people is, we do need to remember, however you vote or don't vote, that the presidency is not the only office up. And if you have strong partisan attachments and you believe that your representative or senator or is the right one or not, even if you can't make a decision for president, it's still worth voting for these other offices.
Let's go to Carl. Carl.
Hello.
Go right ahead.
How you doing?
Great,
Well,
great.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I'm an old Vietnam veteran. I'm as tough as 6 people. I'm 74 years old. But the thing about it is, you know, I don't choose whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican. But the one thing about it is, I don't like either one of them lying, and they both do it, and it's so bad. And I don't know how you understand. No, and it's not your all's fault. But these people lie to us like a dog. You may not like what I say, but as an old Vietnam veteran, somebody has to stand up for us veterans. And we got tickled on a whole long time ago, and I'm as tough as nails. But there's one thing about this: I love my country better than anything in the world.
Carl,
All I want is this country to understand we have to sit down and remember what God gave us from the heart.
Well, Carl, okay, thank you, and I appreciate that. We're seeing a lot of people struggling with who to choose. Carl, angry that he's being lied to, and we hear that over and over. Donald Trump he's come along at a time that's quite fascinating. There's so much frustration, and I think a lot of people feel like government has lied to them. He says he's part of a revolution. What do you think of that?
Well, he reminds me of the classic line, or question, how can you tell if a politician is lying? And the response is, his lips are moving. But some politicians seem to adhere a little bit better to the truth than others. I think what he does tap into, there are a lot of people, sometimes maybe the rhetoric on both sides. Both sides portray this as, the apocalypse is just around the corner if their opponent is elected. And sometimes we need to step back and say, we heard that the last election and the election before. We have some problems, and some of them involve veterans like Carl and others. But, thank God that we still have a belief that our rights are given to us by God, and that the primary function of government is to protect these rights.
Let's go to Michael. Hello, Michael.
Yes, sir. You doing okay this evening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. They getting that down to the nitty gritty right now, and they slinging mud more or less what I call it, and they bringing up the past, and I don't know if y'all remember it or not, but when Bill and Hillary Clinton, when they left the White House, they had took some stuff, stole some stuff from the White House, and carried it home with them.
Right.
And they found out about it, and of course they had to give it back to the White House. And I just can't figure out why Donald Trump don't say something about it. I mean, they talk about all this old sex and stuff like that. He always called Hillary a liar, but he don't never call her a thief. Which I think she's a thief by stealing that stuff from the White House.
All right. Thank you for that. I vaguely remember that story, and I'm sure, again, there are two sides to it, but I do vaguely remember something along those lines. What strikes me is that there's no discussion about policy. It's that
not as much as we would
so-and-so
like.
is a liar. No, right. So-and-so is a liar. So-and-so is a crook. No, so-and-so is a crook. I mean, I think we have some flawed candidates. There's no doubt. If you want to play this game of so-and-so's a liar, I mean, both sides can play that game all day long, but nobody's talking about policy.
If it's any consolation, and I don't remember it from personal experience, but the election of 1800, which was the first peaceful transition of power between the two political parties, the Federalists were absolutely convinced that Thomas Jefferson was an atheist. There were actually preachers who were telling their congregation to hide their Bibles in case he was elected. And Jefferson's, of course, then there was also an accusation, which may have proved to be true, that he was, fathering children by a slave. And his folks were accusing John Adams of being an hermaphrodite. And this was in the press. I mean, that some of the bitterest contests, and somehow we survived it. And my hope is that we're going to survive this one as well.
That we can handle it.
Yeah,
Our democracy can handle it. Yeah, because we've been there before. All right, let's go to Emma. Hello, Emma.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
My opinion is that Hillary Clinton sent all those tapes out from her computer or whatever it is. They've got proof that she is a crook. So why don't they just go ahead and arrest her now and get this over with? And my other thought is that Donald Trump has got enough money that he don't need to be bought off by other people if he was voted to be a president. And so, neither one of them should be up there. We should have had a Christian up there, and we don't. But anyway, I think that since neither one of them should be up there, Trump is a businessman. Maybe he can get us partially out of our enormous debt that we're in from Obama. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I hope that God is looking at America and keeping us safe, because this is a nightmare.
This is a nightmare. Okay, let's go to Sue. Hello, Sue.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
My question is, and I've got an opinion that's probably not fair, but this election has been such a massive calamity. What happens if the elected president is impeached? And does the VP take over the presidential responsibilities? Both running mates seem to be much more credible than the primaries are.
Right. All right, what about that?
I can do that one. To be impeached simply means to have charges raised by a majority of the House of Representatives. We've had two presidents in our history who have been impeached, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. And had Nixon not resigned, he probably would have been impeached. But until you have a trial in the Senate, you remain in office. If you're convicted by a 2/3 or more majority of the Senate, then you're removed from office, and indeed the vice president would take the place. Impeachment is limited to treason, bribery, and what are known as high crimes or misdemeanors. So you can't impeach someone simply because they're politically unpopular or that sort of thing.
So Bill Clinton was impeached.
He was, but
so why did he stay in office?
Well, you remain in office unless you are convicted in the Senate by a 2/3 vote, and he was not.
So it was not 2/3.
It was not. And actually, the closest we ever came when Andrew Johnson, and again, this is not from personal experience, but the Senate was literally one vote away from the 2/3 majority that would be necessary. And John Kennedy, the Profiles in Courage book that he wrote, actually highlighted one of the people who voted not to impeach Johnson, even though he thought Johnson was not a good politician. He didn't think what he had done rose to the level of criminality.
All right, we're going to take a break. David, Peter, others, if you want to hold on, we'll get to your call, and I'll read another thing from my Facebook page, NC5_ NC, the number 5 _ Ben Hall on Facebook. If you want to do that, I'll read that. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.